Europe is our home. We thank President von der Leyen for this very powerful message. I think it's one of the clearest and most powerful messages that we have heard in over a decade on enlargement. Her reflections on enlargement really set the stage for today's conversation. A conversation that has started a long time ago, it will continue today, and will be stronger even more in the future. She reminds us about the geostrategic urgency of enlargement, but also the importance of enlargement as a core pillar of strategic vision of the European Union. And we should not also forget the transformation effect, enlargement as a tool to transform societies and institutions in candidate countries. And with that, I would like now to invite Commissioner Marta KOS to get here on stage for the keynote address. But before doing so, while she's coming up here, I would like to remind everyone on something that stuck with me when I heard her a few months ago. You said, Commissioner KOS, that you'll be the best candidate and the best advocate for countries that are delivering on reforms on the European Union. And I believe that all of those countries and citizens could not have a better advocate here in Brussels than you. And really, she is the architect of this forum, of the first ever EU Enlargement Forum. Thank you.
Thank you. But I'm not alone. This is a teamwork, and dear Mr. Prime Minister, welcome from Moldova, welcome to your first visit to Brussels. Dear Madam Speaker, Anna Brnabic, dear Andrew, thank you for following the enlargement process, our Commissioner for Defence, dear ambassadors, dear guests. How do we ensure that the wars in Europe are forever sent to the history books? And how do we protect our democracies from autocratic tendencies? How do we maximize our ability to act, take control of Europe's own destiny and decide our own future? Ladies and gentlemen, today we Europeans face many of those questions as the founders of our Union in the 50s. We have partially answered those questions in the past. In the 1980s, we stabilized new democracies when Greece, Spain and Portugal joined our Union. In the early 2000s, we did the same and widened stability and prosperity when much of Central and Eastern Europe joined the EU. Today, as we are again preparing for new members, we are doing it again, driven by questions of peace, democracy and also security. At each of these defining moments in our recent history, enlargement policy played a central role. Today, once more, we need to push back against forces that aim to destabilize our continent. We need to clean up our continent from autocracies. We need to defend our space of freedom and democracy. And once again, we are looking at enlargement policy to provide the answers, to fill the gaps of prosperity, freedom and stability across our Europe, and close the gaps exploited more and more by our adversaries, human traffickers and criminals alike. But enlargement policy has not only been a driver for change in our candidate countries, it has also been the fire starter to look at ourselves and provide answers to the concerns of our citizens, be it about our social or economic models, migration, corruption or organized crime. Despite all what enlargement has brought to our continent, or perhaps exactly because it is a force that drives change, enlargement comes too often with negative associations. At this critical juncture of Europe, we need to break these associations, and I need you to help me doing this. We have to provide credible answers to do it right and ensure that a larger union makes Europe stronger. So, how do we do it right? How can we finish the job and complete the unification of Europe for the first time in the history? This is why I'm so pleased to stand here in front of you for the first Enlargement Forum. These fundamental questions about Europe's future really require an open debate, a debate in which everyone who wants can have a voice, governments and civil society, European and also national parliaments, current and future member states. This forum is a part of our response. We want this debate and we want it now. Overall, this year, 2025, was a good year for our enlargement, a year when a lot moved forward. There have been significant advances on the EU path achieved so far by Montenegro. Welcome, Mr. Prime Minister. Albania, we will see him later, the Prime Minister. Moldova, Mr. Prime Minister, and of course, Ukraine. And this shows that really reform pays off. The EU has also stepped up gradual integration, including through the Ukraine facility and the growth plan for Western Balkans and Moldova. And this is already making the European Union a lived reality in candidates today. And we need to keep pace with the geopolitical urgency of our time. I see three strands of our work as we move forward. First, any progress we make with our future member states must be credible. Candidates need to align with the acquis fully, and they need to implement it effectively. There can be no shortcuts, and there will be no shortcuts. I'm often asked, will those geopolitical arguments mean we should turn a blind eye and get new members no matter what? No, I tell you, it is exactly the opposite. When democratic structures are weak or the rule of law is defect, it can open the door to malign influence, to corruption and organized crime. Our union is built on trust among its members. Successful enlargement can only happen when there is trust based on achievements, on merits. Second, the EU needs to get ready for new members. We are currently working on a pre-accession readiness review. We need to know what the impact of future enlargement will be on key policy areas or our budget and our governance structures. And we need to provide strong answers to the concerns and worries of our citizens. What enlargement means for our model of social protection? How can it strengthen the control of our borders? How do we ensure respect for rule of law after the accession? And how will we ensure a smoothly and effectively operating union? We need to have an open discussion about what kind of safeguards we will write into future accession treaties to assure our citizens that the integrity of our union is protected. There must be safeguards that go unnoticed to our new member states when everyone respects their responsibilities, but they must equally be safeguards that can bite hard when new member states do not respect those same rules. At the same time, getting ready for new member states means stepping up also our communication efforts to bring the discussion about the benefits and challenges of enlargement to national debates. Two-thirds of Europeans tell us they are currently not informed enough. This is the problem we must reverse. This is a shared responsibility with our member states. Third, it is time to enlarge enlargement. Candidate countries take time to reform, and sometimes our member states take time to decide. Time which today's world does not grant us any longer. And if we don't act swiftly and with determination, we risk losing control of security and stability at our own continent. And when my country, Slovenia, prepared for the EU membership, this was mainly seen through the prism of prosperity. Today, it is also a question of security. We see that if our neighbors choose a European future, they come under attack. Today, our candidate countries are looking towards the EU to shield them from these attacks, and we must do this by making European integration a reality today, not tomorrow. This touches some of the core elements of the European Union, from the single market to energy and security. In the area of defense, it is one of our future member states, Ukraine, that is driving us forward and make us take integration forward in ways unimaginable in the past. We are already making Ukraine, Moldova and Western Balkans part of pan-European value chains to reduce risk and attract investments. And by 2027, Ukraine and Moldova will be integrated into the EU energy market, protecting our future member against Russian energy blackmail. We should not shy away thinking about the next steps and how we can integrate our candidate countries in some of other structures too. Indeed, the enlargement has brought us back to the journey we started in the way of the Second World War. The fight for open societies, democracies, the respect for law, not the mighty. Autocratic regimes are not bound by the same moral and legal rules our democracies are built on. They are exploiting our openness by fighting an asymmetric game and spending large sums of money on state propaganda and foreign interference. Nowhere do we see this more clearly than in our candidates. And this is why we are throwing a democracy safety net over our continent. We can and must fight back. In our recently proposed Democracy Shield, we have for the first time ever included our candidate countries just like our member states. This is a new way of gradual integration, a very important one. And we can no longer think of defending our democracies at home in our union without defending it in our candidate countries. The war in Ukraine began when Kiev started to look towards Europe to consolidate its freedom and democracy. In Moldova, we have just seen an election where Russia unsuccessfully spent hundreds of millions to undermine pro-European democratic forces. For the fifth time since 2020, they failed, and Moldova won. The strategies for hybrid war that were first used against democracies in Ukraine and Moldova were later seen in other parts of Europe. There is no reason to believe that this trend is set to stop anytime soon. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, the need for a renewed discussion about the future of enlargement and an enlarged union today is of such paramount importance. This is why this first Enlargement Forum is so timely. Let us start the debate together today.